The magnetic energy, that you're talking about, or the electromagnetic spectrum, which is generated from the earth and from the environment, has to do a lot with the amount that's liberated from the atmosphere and nature out there. Has a lot to do with the pulse of the earth. The pulse of the earth has to do with thinking of the total thinking of the peoples in the earth sets the pulse. And as the pulse changes, the energy has to keep in line with that. It has to be a balance. Oh, I'm turning my head. It has to be a balance between the pulse and the energy of the people that are present on this earth and the energy they're using and that electromagnetic force. So that changes based on the pulse of the people. So the melanin, however, is protected from certain strong electromagnetic currents that are generated on the earth. In other words, we're grounded because we have melanin. Grounded simply means that the amount of electromagnetic force coming from the earth through the lower part of your body versus that from the upper part of the body is in balance in melanated people. And you mentioned about the TWA people that can communicate by mental telepathy at distances and so on. And I wanted to say on that that's because they are less contaminated than we are here in the Western world. They live more close to nature. The melanin is working for them as a force, as a current. It's in line with the electromagnetism where they are, which is different than the electromagnetic current here. And the reason why this one is different is because we have so much artificial electromagnetic force that we have introduced in the society. All of these sirens, infrared light that are in all of the police cars, the fire engines, the phones that we use to the cellular phones and so on. All of these are putting a certain amount of artificial current in, destroying and diluting away the electromagnetic field. In those cultures where they don't have all of this technology, they are closest to the electromagnetic current and the pulse in that particular area, but there's an overall general pulse in the world, and we are affected here more because we're in a different climate than, say, the Africans or the TWA people, or the Grimaldi people, or the Dogon people in Africa. They are less contaminated there, and the force of nature is more in balance with how the people's pulse is in that part of the world. Thus, they can communicate. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The less contaminated the environment, the natural environment, the better the conditions of health and function and survival of the people in that area. The trees are not cut down. The pollution of the waters and the earth is not the case in those places, whereas here, greed has created a kind of contamination that's irreversible, health-wise and otherwise. Mm-hmm. So it changes the electromagnetic tone of the earth because you're killing it with the pollution, diluting it with chemicals, and that's no good for the forces that come from the earth and nature that speaks to us. The earth is alive. It's a living matter. So it's speaking to us, and that's why I said it has a pulse. And that pulse is picked up. And that pulse is determined by the tone of thinking of those in the universe, or in especially this part of the world.
That's amazing. I've heard something about it, but no one has explained it quite like you have. But you're saying that our thinking,
yes, right,
affects the earth.
Absolutely.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
All right. I'll try to. I'm saying that there's a lessening of the spirituality. Spirituality means that we communicate with spirit and with wisdom from the Creator. There's less of this here, so we have lost that opportunity to create a kind of a pristine kind of thinking. We've lost that. So So that changes how the earth responds to us, how the forces, electromagnetic forces that control our movement on the earth and our uprightness on the earth. In other words, when you walk, there's a certain kind of energy that keeps you where you are in addition to your body parts. Mm-hmm. So as you change as the thinking goes, the pulse or the tone of the universe is going to be thereby affected by the thought processes that are put out there in the universe. In other words, every thought you put out there adds to that dilemma that I'm talking about. If it's negative thought, resentment, if it's war, if it's individual negative thinking that people have, all of that goes out there in the universe. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. So that we have all these violent thoughts, and if you don't do what I want you to do, I'll send my army over and bomb you. If you don't allow me to come in and take over your economy, I'll shoot you down, and I project all this up into satellites, and everybody sees it around the world. Right. Are you saying that this now is affecting?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The more of that we find, the worse a particular culture is going to be, similar to Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible, and then eventually that culture dilapidates.
All right, so then you are not then that much worried that the apparent plans to commit genocide on African people here and abroad will be successful.
It will be to a certain degree, but remember, it will balance out. In other words, you reach a certain threshold level where it won't happen anymore. Mm. The forces will stop it. And we see it all the time. You know, you've seen people that we've lost and so on. We're sorry they're gone and so on, but they have to go, if I may say it that way. Mm-hmm. So there's a certain weeding out by those that have that kind of plan, and it seems as if it's successful, but at some point the Creator puts a stop to that thing and it turns around. In other words, if you seed the earth with melanated people that have the wherewithal to continue a species, quote, forever, then you cannot destroy that species completely. You understand what I'm saying? If we were the first people put here so that we can maintain a balance on this earth, that's probably why we were put here on this planet, to maintain a certain degree of homeostatic balance here, and knowing that there will be other forces that would upset that. Therefore, we're here for a reason that's very, very important. So there will be a certain number of us who will go, and maybe we have to pay for certain prices to go. And then at some point, we will not be totally decimated. So people of color must be here on this earth for the earth to maintain itself in orbit. That's how I see it.
So, and then these are the last questions I'll ask you relative to melanin. But the ancients, say for an example, the Egyptians, but we know that we built civilization long before we culminated in those great edifices like the pyramids and etc. But what would you say contributed so much to their ability to build those great edifices?
From what I have thought on that issue, and there are other things that I'm also toying with, I think these people were more in tune with the laws of nature, laws of the universe, and the laws of health. There are laws there. There are laws of physics and laws of nature that controls how things move in nature. Otherwise, the sun would fall out, come down and hit the earth, at a time, or the moon would change colors and do other things. So there are laws that holding things in abeyance. So the ancient Egyptians and other people at that time were high-cultured people, meaning high civilization, had abilities that were more towards a natural kind of harmony of based on what we call laws of physics and other laws that we don't know about. So they had that ability to perceive. Their perception was more in tune with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to build edifices that, based on certain laws that we have lost and cannot, regenerate again.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to do with the times and the period in which they existed, that they had this high culture, and then it started to go downhill to where we are now. And remember, we are pulled away from our center by other people who are put here for a function. They're doing a particular thing, and they're here doing it. And at some point, that will pass off too. So that sort of pulls our energy away from ourselves because they're controlling and pulling it away.
Mm-hmm.
We have no choice in that, except individually. So it's an overall thing that's happening in the universe where that's being pulled away from. Our energy is, shall we say, diluted, or our energy is, or our ability is suppressed. We are oppressed and suppressed. And so our massive creativeness is sort of on hold, although we still create, because we are creative people. We were created. So it's a little on hold until the other people that are put here for a particular function perform their function, and when it finishes, then they move on, and then we go back to the original.